But my beat stay on hard.
We're back on the BCSN Sportswrap show, and joining us right now, we've got a bit of I guess we could call this an AD spotlight, and that's not AD as in my name, but AD as in athletic director. This is AD Drew with you on the Black College Sports Network Sportswrap show. Joining me is the new athletic director, Jasher Cox for Lincoln Memorial University. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, Jasher, for joining us here on the Versus Sports Simulator Hotline.
Well, Drew, thank you very much for having me. First of all, man, I'm thrilled to be a part of BCSN. So thank you for calling me. I'm glad you reached out, and I'm excited to talk things over with you.
All right. I hope I'm one of the first people to interview you since you have taken this position, outside of the press releases that have gone on.
If you want me to say you're the first, I will. But things took off so quickly. I've had a couple of people in my face since the announcement, and of course that's how it works. But sometimes they say save the best for last, right?
Hey, that's all good. Well, I hope I'm not last, but even whether I'm last or whether I'm first, I hope I'm going to be the best.
That's right.
All right. But before we get into some of the stuff, I had to Google where Lincoln Memorial is, what conference they're in, all of the good stuff with that, because the only two Lincolns that I knew of was Missouri and Pennsylvania before you took this job. So just kind of give everybody where that dot is on that map when they Google Lincoln Memorial University, excuse me.
Yeah, so it's located in Harrogate, Tennessee, just somewhere a little over an hour from Knoxville. Everybody knows where Knoxville is, of course, where the University of Tennessee is located. And it's a tri-state area. It's on the corner of the Tennessee state line, Kentucky state line, and Virginia state line. And it's a town called Harrogate, Tennessee. So, this is probably the first you've heard, but it definitely won't be the last. This is a school that has been in the Division II Final Four a handful of times. Most recently they had a record of 30-1. Losing their first game in the Final Four. So this is the D2 version of Kentucky Wildcats basketball, if you will. They've been really successful, and the Olympic sports have had some success. As a matter of fact, the golf team this past spring went to the NCAA championship, so they compete pretty well out at Lincoln Memorial, and I got to be honest, I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Wow, and I know for you, me knowing you personally like I do, that the basketball being up there along with football, your top two favorite sports. So I know that's right up your alley right there, Jasher.
No question. Great facilities out there, man. Great basketball program. And a beautiful campus. Let me backtrack for a minute. That campus is pristine, as I would like to comparatively, when you look at other campuses, man, they do a really good job of maintaining their facilities out there. And it's a must-come visit. You got to come check us out, Drew.
I definitely will on one of those northern trips, but I'm going to tell you my rule, Jasher. I don't do north of the Mason-Dixon line between November and March. So just to let you know when I'm coming.
You sound like a smart man.
All right. And a lot of people may be wondering, why am I talking to a person who's not going to be an athletic director at an HBCU on a show that's focused on HBCUs? But I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, Mr. Cox has a lot of experience and has used the HBCU experience as a proving ground to go and get this job at a, as we like to call it, a PWI institution. And we're going to get into that HBCU experience a little bit further down in this interview. But I know your story, Jasher. A lot of people out there don't know your story. So just give them a little bit about your background.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, the background started in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I worked at Alabama State University for a while, and after leaving the Hornets, I migrated to the league office, the headquarters in Birmingham. I worked for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. After serving about 4 years in the league office as one of the assistant commissioners, I took off and migrated to the Horizon League, and that's one of the powerhouse mid-major conferences in men's basketball, if you will. And if you don't know the teams that are in that league, I try to describe them as the ones that will ruin your bracket during March Madness in the first round. But competitive basketball in that league. And, from that point, I left and I became the assistant athletic director at Tuskegee University. So, there are three different instances that bring ties to HBCUs in my career.
Good. Speaking of Tuskegee University, where you're currently employed and you'll be there for a few more weeks, talk about the current state of athletics at Tuskegee. We've got a new men's basketball coach. Unfortunately, a good friend of yours and mine, Coach Edward Colvin, passed away rather suddenly. He was the head softball coach, so there's an interim softball coach in that position right now. You hired a women's basketball coach last year. She had a very successful year. So just kind of give us an update on the current state of athletics and what you're leaving behind at Tuskegee University.
Yeah, and I'll start off with Edward Colvin. First of all, my condolences go to, his family. He was a mainstay in the Tuskegee University athletics family, and mostly famously known for the three-peat, of winning the conference and the SIAC in softball in 2014, 15, and 16. He's had some really good programs and just reached the championship game of this past year's softball tournament. So, obviously it was a devastating loss, and it snuck up on us all so fast when we were all anticipating him to come back and kind of finish the deal from a great season that he had a year ago. So he'll definitely be missed. Right now, Dietrich Randall is filling that void in the interim spot, and so we're just trying to rally around, his name, think about the positives, not the negatives, and see if we can coach these young ladies up to put this season all on the line for Colvin. And, as you mentioned, men's basketball, Benji Taylor, we're excited about that hire. He brings a wealth of Division I experience, having coached at Chicago State, Hawaii, Pepperdine, Tulane. I mean, here's a guy that gets basketball, and we're 15, 20 minutes from Auburn, and Mr. Energy, Bruce Pearl, is right up the street. I describe him as our version of Bruce Pearl. He is a ball of excitement. He was swag surfing last night, or the night before last, at our Shigi Madness, the official start of the basketball season. The kids love him, and you'll see his face. He'll be around because he's going to make sure he is out in front of his program, which is exactly what we need. And I don't think there's anybody hotter on campus right now than Coach Trelane Powell. I had women's basketball coach after winning the division in her first year. She's got a lot of young ladies returning. As you know, you've seen a lot about basketball. You're familiar with it, and a lot of those young ladies are returning, and she's added some guns to go along with the rest of the ammunition. So we're excited about men's and women's basketball at Tuskegee.
All right. Of course, this is football season.
Yeah.
In Tuskegee ranks, this is thus far has been a disappointing season. Although they are standing in a good spot within the SIAC on the west side. Update us on football, because this is football season and this is primarily a football show that we're talking on.
Yeah. So one thing in football, we're not accustomed to losing at all. We're second among wins in the NCAA. I just looked at it yesterday, and again, we're like 10 wins shy of having a total of 700. So, and we're talking about the NCAA Division II. This is a HBCU that almost has 700 wins in this program's history. So, yeah, winning is what we do at Tuskegee. Go ahead.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but Tuskegee is the winningest HBCU football program out there. I had to throw that in as full disclosure. I am an alum.
That's right. I think most know that, but I'm glad you reminded them. Sometimes we do have to remind the individuals that are north of us in the Birmingham area, if you will. We have to remind them of that. But
there you go.
We're not used to losing, and so it's been a difficult year. We've had some hiccups. A 3-game losing streak was snapped, and the earth is back on its axis, especially when you snap that losing streak to a rival in Morehouse College, a team you lost to in triple overtime a year ago. So the streak starts now. Again, the goals are still in front of this football team. They're 2-1 in league play. So if you handle business and take care of that business 1 week at a time, you put yourself in a decent situation toward the end of the season.
Yeah. You spent the better part of 3 years at Tuskegee University, having served roles both as the SID and as the assistant athletic director. During that time, what do you think were your 1 or 2 top accomplishments at Tuskegee?
For me, having the opportunity to put homecoming on the CW network, to those who aren't familiar, Tuskegee has been on national TV. They've been on ESPN. They've been on ESPN3. They've had all kinds of video streams with Spire and, a whole host of networks. But to my knowledge, you've never really been able to turn Tuskegee on in your backyard, your regional. And Alabama News Network, which is mostly known as CBS 8 WAKA, is what people are familiar with. They have 3 stations, the Fox 20, CW Network, and the CBS 8 station. So they approached us with the CW Network to put it on. And as a result of selling those sponsorship packages and partnering with donors, we were able to generate a lot of funds off of that game. And so landing that opportunity and being in front of our regional audience and somewhere just over 500,000 households in that media market was a huge accomplishment for me. And as a result of raising those funds and those partnerships, we were able to get some things done in the facility, as you know, getting the gymnasium floor redone, which is something that hadn't been done in a couple of years. That was a huge accomplishment. So a couple of things. Oh, by the way, our new scoreboard just went up this week as well. So, and that's a result of generating those funds. They started the process on Monday, and it got completed on yesterday evening.
Yeah, I saw those pictures on your Twitter feed.
Correct.
Yeah. And I guess deals like that for HBCUs, especially HBCU like Tuskegee, that kind of helps them not have to sell out to what we like to term those check games. Where you go, you get slaughtered, and you cash the check for getting your butt kicked. So deals like that are important for HBCUs if they're able to land those type of deals, so that they don't have to potentially put kids at risk and seasons at risk for getting players hurt in those so-called check games.
Correct. But again, at Tuskegee, we don't shy away from them, and we don't look at them as check games. we look at it as another opportunity to show a Division I school what real football looks like, And so I think there's a fine line between scheduling a check game and having multiple non-conference Division I programs on your schedule. The year we won it in 2017, we opened the season with a victory of Alabama State. And midway through the year, we also beat Jackson State. That's 2 Division I wins, in one season. And ideally, you probably don't like to schedule that many. But again, Slater doesn't back away from playing anybody the schedule lines up for.
Speaking of Coach Slater, you've been his right-hand man, so I know he's going to miss you when you're gone, because you being assistant athletic director, I know you have a lot of extra duties, especially while he's coaching football.
Well, yeah, I'm forever in debt for having the opportunity to work for a guy like Coach Slater. He's the ultimate leader. You know exactly what you're going to get from him every day. He's honest, full of integrity, and he fights for his staff. And, when you have an athletics director, you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, and you've got a good role model as you head into your new job. You went over your experience with HBCUs working at Alabama State University, working for the SWAC office. You've worked for Tuskegee, and yet you have worked for the Horizon League. And I always, excuse me if I get these initials incorrect, IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. Did I get it right?
You got it. You nailed it. Absolutely. You nailed it.
Yeah. And the only reason I even know about that school because, like you said, that was one of those schools that broke my bracket up a long time ago, and I've never forgotten
That's
that
right.
school.
And shout out to the athletic director that's out there, Dr. Roderick Perry. The athletic director is an Auburn, Alabama native living in Indianapolis leading that school. A lot of people don't know that. He is a black guy that he's been in leadership roles, used to be at Wright State as well, so Another black leader, man, that we can be proud of in this area.
Yeah. Speaking of those black leaders and black leadership, you've worked at HBCUs, you've worked at PWIs, but we're going to focus specifically on the HBCUs right now. What about working at an HBCU and in an HBCU conference do you feel has prepared you for this venture that you're going into at Lincoln Memorial University?
Well, for one, we're not a school that's spending $50,000 on billboards, that you see up and down there in the state. We've got to be resourceful. We got to use our websites to disseminate messaging and social media. We got to take advantages when networks come to us regionally and say, hey, we want to put your games on television. We got to take advantage of those opportunities. We've got to learn when we're playing on ESPN3 that's a 3-hour free PSA. So flood these announcers, folks, with information. Inundate them with so much information that they're just bragging on your school between every play. So if anything, I've cut my teeth at Alabama State working with the SWAC and Tuskegee. They all taught me the biggest takeaway, man, is to be resourceful, work with what you got. Never make excuses as to why you can't accomplish something.
Yeah, and one thing I can commend you on, you have been one of the better resources as far as being able to go to the Tuskegee website or being able to make a phone call to get information that you need, especially when we're a small internet network like ourselves. We rely on SIDs getting information out and getting us to the right people so that we can ask certain questions. So I want to commend you on that. Now, let's talk about Lincoln Memorial University. Let's talk about the decision to go. Tuskegee is virtually home from you. You're from right up the road, about 15 miles away in Notasulga, Alabama, from Tuskegee University. But the decision to leave your home area and to move 8 hours away.
Yeah, so like you said, Macon County is home for me. My parents still live there in the Notasoga area, and wasn't an easy decision. And one thing I try to correct people on, a lot of times people come to Tuskegee and say, "Oh man, that's a stepping stone program. You can get in there and change some things and get out." No, Tuskegee is a place where you can retire. It really is. It's a great place for employment. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. Now, for me, it was a career move, and I got some things that I wanted to be able to achieve personally. And at the end of the day, regardless of what we do in life, regardless of the field, we're doing it so one day we can take care of our families. And so for me, it was a career move. It was a family move.
All right. So you start next month. You're starting right at the beginning of basketball season. Then you're going to your spring sports. Talk about some of your maybe initial plans that you have going into your new venture at Lincoln Memorial, and then some of your long range plans.
Well, my initial plans walking in the door, I always walk in with a 30, 60, 90-day plan. I'm not one of those that walks in and tries to change things, from day one or week one. I come in and try to do a needs assessment, talk with all of our coaches, have listening sessions, talk with our staff members, and even those that aren't within the department. Just be a good listener and talk to people, figure out the landscape first. Introducing myself to donors and also sending out invites to those who aren't giving so they can become donors and thank the ones that are. So I want to meet these individuals within the Lincoln Memorial University family. And, after we do evaluations of ourselves, from a staff standpoint, we'll figure out where our needs are at that point and continue the process of continuing making this school to be what it is, and it's a great institution. So for me, it's just a matter of not necessarily changing things or maybe change the paint on the car, but for the most part, let's keep the same engine and the same body.
All right. Get ready to get up out of here, Jasher. But before we get out of here, I hate that you're not going to be around for that 10-year anniversary of that championship basketball team that I was assistant coach on. I just want to throw that in as a sidebar to you.
I absolutely hate I'm going to miss that. So you guys got to keep me updated, man. Send me some pictures. I'd love to see it.
Is there anything in particular that you want to get out to both to your family at Tuskegee University and your new family at Lincoln Memorial University that I did not cover?
Well, no, again, first of all, I appreciate the interview and you having me on today. I've always enjoyed chatting with you, Drew. I appreciate the help that you've done for Tuskegee, even behind the scenes, items that people don't necessarily know about that you've gone out of your way to accommodate our university. Tuskegee is a great place. We've been able to get kids off of our history, particularly in football. It's been a winning tradition for years, but if you're listening, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Tuskegee needs money. We need to upgrade facilities. There are schools around us in our league that at one point you could just put a check by because as soon as we got off the bus, you can note them as victories. That day is gone. Kids are improving. These institutions within our league are getting better athletes. They're getting better facilities. They're upgrading their facilities. So if you guys love Mother Tuskegee, it's time to put your money where your mouth is and call Crystal Floyd, our development officer, who oversees development at our university, and it's time to write her a check. Let's stop talking about coaches. Let's stop talking about players. Let's start talking about money and giving some to President McNair so we can upgrade these facilities that you guys love to see us at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. Again, we're playing a school right here in Edward Waters in Jacksonville. It's an NAIA school for now. They're going to migrate soon to Division II within SIAC, and you'll see immediate improvement with the type of player, the caliber players that they're getting. So no more games or gimmies. That's the way you can help this university.
Wow. You can't follow up a closing statement like that, so we're going to leave this interview right here. Jasher Cox, current assistant athletic director at Tuskegee, but don't blink, he won't be there for long. He's heading to Lincoln Memorial University in Tennessee. Congratulations on the new position, Jasher. If you bring that type of passion to Lincoln Memorial University, wow, watch out. You're going to have a lot of programs that are going to be competing for Division II championships. I know it. I've seen it. So thank you once again, Jasher, for the BCSN Sportswrap. This is AD Drew, and we'll see you on the other side.
It's like a loop machine.